Mr. Dave Boland, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Ted. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome to the inaugural ILTACON Live podcast booth. It's the first year that we've done this together.
I love it.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel very honored, very special. So
awesome.
Glad to be a part of it. This is great.
We're honored to have you. We did it on our own last year, and we planned on doing it at our booth, and we had a 9 o'clock scheduled podcast, and the exhibit hall wasn't open, so we had to go get a table, and so we were like, you know what, let's partner with ILTA this year. They can obviously bring lots of production,
right,
and they'll let us in,
right?
You know?
That's where being a startup really helps, because you're very, pragmatic. You're like, hey, just grab a table and get this going.
You make it work, man. Toothpicks and bubble gum if you gotta do it. You know what's funny is one of our core values at InfoDash is simplify and go.
Yeah.
And we have some sub bullets under that. One of them is have a bias towards action. And where we got that was we have had developers work for us throughout the years who are violin makers, 8 levels of abstraction, and and it's sometimes you got to build a doghouse.
Yeah.
But if you ask a violin maker to build a doghouse, they don't want to do it.
No, exactly. I love that, though, because I think even more so than maybe ever before, simplify is going to be what we're all going to be thinking about. I mean, we have to. And
totally.
So I love that. And then just have a bias toward action. I mean, that's something that we really try to emphasize on my team. Mm-hmm. Do what you say you're going to do, deliver, do it on time, do it on budget. And then move to the next one.
Yeah.
And the whole iteration. If at first you just let's start with a little doghouse here.
Yep.
And then we'll build from there.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. When you get really talented engineers in a room, sometimes they want to over-engineer stuff, and sometimes that doesn't serve the client.
Right.
So we got to reel it in. So we dig into that deep when we're interviewing people, when we do our evaluations, and it goes a long way. And we go a long way back with you guys.
We do.
Yeah. So Ogletree, cool story. Ogletree was really the first InfoDash customer, and this is.
Did we qualify as InfoDash, or were we under doing business as?
Yeah, no, you're right. We were AcroWire, and the InfoDash didn't even exist. It was like the gadget framework. Remember?
Yeah.
But OD took a chance on us, and you guys liked what we had as a starting point, and then we were able to work with a real law firm with real requirements and real users.
Yeah.
And that whole simplify and go thing, that's where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah.
Throw some stuff in front of users, see how they respond to it, take their feedback, make improvements, and do that over and over.
Yeah.
So it's been a great partnership.
You
were
really
our first intranet customer. You're our second extranet customer.
Yeah, we're excited about that too.
Yeah, and it's so our first extranet customer was Eversheds,
right,
and Katrina, who I have a long relationship with, and it requires trust.
Yeah.
Right. She trusted me.
Yeah. And
she had a very tight deadline to get off HiQ.
Right.
And it was lights are going off. This has got to get done. So we deployed. I was attending stand-ups for the last 6 weeks of the project every day.
Wow.
With her team. And, we didn't get everything right because we were still learning as we were going.
You're moving that fast, right? Yeah.
We were deploying code twice a day. Yeah, that's how fast we were moving.
Yeah.
But when you have a good relationship and you have trust, so we're a team of about 50 now.
Yeah.
We had 12 just working on that one project.
Wow.
So it's you get into the trenches, with your partners and your customers, and you just do what you got to. You lock arms. You guys have that. Some people, and there's nothing wrong with this. Some people just want to sit back and wait till the bumps are ironed out.
Right.
And then some people like to get their hands dirty and say, "Hey, I want to help shape this."
Exactly. I think that's our perspective, and I love that you called out trust, because I think that's really what makes our relationship, our partnership, so meaningful, and the desire to repeat and to do more. When you feel like you're all one team, it's not an us them, that knowing that our concerns are your concerns, that you understand the pressures, the timing, there's even sequencing, right? Like we really, we got to do this part first, and get that over the line here, and then we can take step 2. And it's really, it's like looking in the mirror for us, from our perspective, when we work with you guys. So it's been a great partnership.
Yeah, it's been awesome, man. So you've been you started off as CKO, now CKIO, right? You started with OD when?
5 years ago.
Okay.
So June of 20, which was an interesting time to not only join a new organization, but join a new industry. So I didn't come from the legal side of things, and so all that was when the nation was on shutdown. Everything was, on Teams or Zoom or whatever you could find to work.
Stock market was in the gutter.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was interesting time to have a lot of new things, but it was also, I was accustomed to working in that kind of remote environment and leveraging the technology for those, either working with my team or with stakeholders or customers, things like that. So it wasn't new, but it was just a very unique experience.
Yeah, and so you came from public accounting.
That's right.
Right. You and our COO worked at the same firm. What? So let's double click into that a little bit. Like how were things different? What have you been able to take from your learnings in another industry and apply in legal?
Yeah, I think at the highest level, it's all professional services, right? So client is the most important thing, and the second most important thing are clients, and then the third, and so there's this laser focus on meeting, exceeding the client's needs, which is a great culture to be a part of, because it keeps you focused, keeps the main thing, and it provides a context that you can kind of work from there. The challenges of that are just the limitations of time to hey, I'm trying to help, or how can we help? And it's like, well, I don't have time to talk about that because I'm focused on my client's needs. Or you send communications, but they're not read because they're focused on the client needs. And so it is a kind of a double-edged sword there in many ways. And so I see that consistency. Also, I mean, if you back up even more, you look at the same ownership model.
Yes, the partnership model.
I've only worked in partnerships.
Wow.
And so it's different. Yeah. And anytime I've hired people that have not had that, it's a long learning curve, and the need to appreciate the importance of collaboration and consensus building and go slow to go fast. You got to make a lot of investments in those relationships to then be able to move forward and move quickly.
Yeah. And one of your partners happens to live in St. Louis.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
Yeah, dude, he's awesome. So him and I go to breakfast about once a quarter, and man, I learned so much from him. We talk about, I tell him about all the new tech that I'm seeing, and kind of he fills me in on the law firm side. Like I have. And Rodney and I have talked about this. It's like the partnership model as it exists in legal is even more unique than it is in accounting, and at least the way I see it. And the reason is there's some key differences. First of all, scale. Like the big four are the smallest KPMG at $40 billion in revenue. Deloitte's $80 billion. Right. The biggest law firm is $8 billion, which is Kirkland and Ellis, and they're an outlier.
Yeah.
So, much more scale in public accounting, and then also another key difference is that in the accounting, consulting, advisory world, you can't take your business with you. Right. There's typically non-competes. In the law firm world, the ABA rules dictate that you have to do what's in best interest of the client. Yeah. So if you're my lawyer and I've been working with you for 20 years and you go from firm A to firm B, the firm can't stand in the way of me following you.
That's right.
And that's a little different in the accounting world. So yeah, man, that's like I I really question whether or not the current iteration of the partnership model is going to get us, especially with all the ABA rules like that, and also non-legal ownership, right?
Right.
If you're not a lawyer, you can't own anything in a law firm, right?
That's right.
So, and you were at Grant Thornton, right?
I was at Grant and then Deloitte.
Okay.
Spent a fair amount of time at Deloitte, and if you roll the clock back far enough, Arthur Andersen.
Oh, wow.
Which is where I cut my teeth, and so grateful for the things that I learned there. Really rich culture, and actually got to work with a lot of those people at Grant Thornton. Actually, that had left, but once. What happened to Andersen when they then many of them moved to Grant Thornton. So
yeah,
it's interesting. It's probably not the best analogy, but I think the public accounting feels like a team sport, and to differentiate, maybe to make a stark differentiation, law firms feel a little bit more like a collection of independent sole practitioners in many ways. So it kind of, to your point, if I leave this firm, I take my book of business with me, and that can happen at at some of the big four, but less likely. Like you hire Deloitte,
right?
Yeah, and all that comes with, right?
Yeah, and in terms of, there's much less fragmentation. So like the big four, and then like GT's like fifth, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a big gap there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of scale.
That's right.
In the law firm world, like if you add up the entire AmLaw 100 revenue, it's 140 billion. That's like Deloitte and E&Y, right? And you got 100 law firms, so there's a tremendous amount of fragmentation. Which, I mean, I don't know if that's sustainable as we really start to deploy technology, and law firm inventory becomes less about people's hours and more about the tech that they have.
Yeah,
you agree?
I do. I mean, I try to keep it pretty simple. It's about value and delivering value. And so, and part of that equation is cost benefit. So how much am I paying and how much value am I getting? So I think that's going to continue to play out. Very much so.
And I've seen tremendous growth. So you guys have been clients of ours for about 7 years. And I mean, when we first started, I think all of KM was like 25 people, right?
Yeah.
How big if you're able to talk about it, how big are you guys now?
We just passed the 100 mark.
Oh my gosh.
So my last 5 years, you're right, we were less than 30 people when I got here, and then even just our scope of services is dramatically increased as well, and we actually, over 50% of the team is now our billers. So we've got a portion of our team that bill a good, like they have utilization goals, and they're doing direct client work for data analytics, and that's actually been one of our fastest growing areas. And so with my background in KM, that's been a very unique experience here, is to actually have a revenue generation component to our operating model.
That doesn't hurt. Like
no.
It's not just cost. Like you're actually bringing revenue. I don't know. Did you see? I had a LinkedIn post where I took the AmLaw 100 and measured profitability, and then I did a count on knowledge management and innovation resources at each of those firms.
Yeah.
And you know what? There was really no relationship between profitability and KM and I investment.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I think it's tricky. Like you can't just say, oh, okay, well that investing more in KM doesn't lead to better bottom line performance. I don't think you can say that. I think there's things that have contributed to that, like innovation theater.
Yeah.
A lot in the beginning, a lot of innovation titles were out there, and there really wasn't a full commitment of the firm to change, like the hard stuff, right?
Yeah.
The client engagement model, the internal firm compensation model, the pricing model, like those are hard changes,
right?
But innovation sounds good and it's good for marketing. That has changed. Now firms are really digging in and saying because I don't think we have a choice, right?
right.
I mean, technology is really forcing firms to change. You agree?
I do agree with that, yeah, and I'm very fortunate, as you mentioned Rodney, he and many of our leaders are very forward thinking. I mean, I learn a lot from Rodney every time I talk to him.
Yeah.
And he's a great shareholder at the firm, and likes to move fast.
Yeah.
So, it puts us in a different position to be able to do that iterative approach. So let's make things real. Let's clearly articulate where the value is here, and then start moving things forward. But you will eventually bump into some of these big things that are going to have to be dealt with over time. So.
Totally. So, and we were talking a little bit before we went live. Like, labor and employment is one of the few areas of law where firms can only focus on that and scale to 1,000+ attorneys. Like, I don't see it very many places. You guys at OD have a very tight focus. You're labor, employment, and immigration.
That's right.
Is that right? And
yeah.
You're, what, 1,100 attorneys?
That's right, yeah.
That's amazing scale.
Yeah, we're up to 60 offices now. And so even that is, and I think with the remote work, that number of offices is not felt as deep or as challenging because, I could be down the street in the same city but be remote, and so it's kind of changed the way we work and interact with one another. But those are a lot of unique instances of the firm in each office, and each one has its own little personality and unique aspects.
Yeah, and you got a great lead on the data analytics side with Tim Fox. Like,
yeah.
How important is that data analytics work to your overall remit?
Yeah, so we think of data analytics kind of in two buckets. So we got one that's really coming alongside our litigation and counseling services, and so it's dealing with the client data. I think where Tim has been able to really very strategically think through how do we just leverage data so that we get insights, that we can make better decisions, take better actions. And that could be client data, it could be our internal data, it could be free data, public data, it could be purchase data. But how do you find those intersections that you bring all that together to tell a story, to be able to make decisions from those things. So it's been really helpful, and the data ties right into all the opportunities to innovate. It's got to be organized, it's got to be structured, and so then being able to take advantage of some of these advanced technologies that are available, we're well positioned to be able to do that.
I have a theory about where the industry's going and how firms are going to differentiate themselves in the future, and I think it's going to be with data. Because it's historically what has differentiated law firms is the brand has played a huge role. Yeah. Right? And the brand is really supported by the people. Right? The people who've had the big wins, gotten the big wins on the board, who've had very successful outcomes. But what has really kind of taken a back seat historically is all that institutional wisdom, knowledge, and data that the law firm has accumulated.
Right.
We haven't really done a good job as an industry leveraging that to differentiate ourselves, because our people and our brand has really been at the forefront. But as we start to get tech-enabled legal service delivery, how firm A differentiates itself from firm B. It's not going to be by buying one of these tools out here, because your competitors can go do that.
Right.
But having access to data and having tech that leverages that data, you're the only person with your data. Right. So is that do you see that as a differentiating factor in the future as you guys build out your tech platform?
and it's not only having the data, it's knowing what to do with the data. It's knowing what story to tell with the data. What questions are you trying to answer with the data? And so I think it's maybe coming from a consultative background, there's always that, what problem are we trying to solve? What question are we trying to answer? So you got to have the data. That's the baseline. And you're absolutely right. It's the differentiator. It's my data. No one else has that. And so, but then how do I really exploit that? How do I really make sense and deliver insights from that?
Yeah, I think firms like yourself that are very tightly focused are at a real advantage because you're so focused. You know your data inside and out, right? And you can make predictions. You based on past precedent, outcomes. So I think you guys are in a good position. All right, last question.
Yeah.
What is your biggest challenge that you're tackling right now?
Yeah, and I don't know if I'd use the word challenge, but I'd say our strongest area of focus, so it is addressing a challenge, is awareness and adoption. It's improving engagement, and it's kind of back to what we were saying earlier. It's like when you've got your user base or all your stakeholders are so focused on the client, there's so little bandwidth to work together, and so. I don't think there's any one silver bullet on how do you improve awareness and adoption. And even conversations with Rodney, it's like, so maybe these aren't everybody's definition of the terms, but awareness is like, it exists. We have this tool, we have this capability, we provide this service. Adoption being, here's the technical, how do I use it? So it exists, here's how you use it. But then taking it to that next level of really integrating it into our attorney's practice. So really trying to take them, really all of our people through a very thoughtful way to go from not only, I know it exists, I know technically how to use it, but then how do I actually integrate it into my practice? And so it's been a big focus discussion. We had there was a board meeting where we had this conversation, and how do we continue to improve that, and it's evergreen. I mean, I don't know that there's any point where you're like, well, we don't need to do that anymore. Plant the flag. We're good.
Yeah.
So it's constant, and it's again, I don't think there's any one way to do it. So how do you get creative? How do you send the message and repeat the message, but slightly different? And how do you not be annoying in the process? And then how do you engage people to get more ideas? Why did this resonate with you? What was it? And boy, it'd be great if you did it this way. And being able to be flexible and agile enough to begin trying something new and how we address that.
Maybe that'll be a core value. Don't be annoying. Right? All right, Dave, it was a pleasure having you on,
man.
Hey,
thank you, Ted. It's great to see you, and I really appreciate the time.
All right, good stuff.
Thank you.
Easy peasy.